Hi, and welcome to Debbie's Rusty Brush. Today we're going to paint a cute gnome in a fall scene. I love gnomes. They're cute, they're cuddly, they're just adorable. Who doesn't like a gnome? And I love fall. I love the crispness of the air. I love when the colors, all the vibrant colors start coming alive, the oranges and the reds and the yellows. And so I thought that today was a good day to bring that into my home and paint a beautiful fall scene. It's hot here today and I am craving that crispness of the air. So we're going to create a little bit of fall in our painting today. So come along with me and let's get started. All right. So as you can see, I have drawn on the image that I'm wanting to do onto my canvas. I do that ahead of time because it does take me a little bit to come up with the composition and what I want it to look like. So now I am using chalk paint and I'm using Dixie Belle's blue and cotton, and I'm just alternating between the two as I put them on the canvas. I want to have the variation of some blue, some white, and some of the mixed. I like having that variation in there. It, to me, has a more natural feel. And I'm just going to work it and get it down in the tooth of the canvas and get all of the areas that would be blue covered. And then we'll move on from there. Okay, now I'm going to take some DIY clay-based chalk paint in Salty Kiss, and I turned my canvas upside down to be able to reach it a little easier, and I'm just laying in a base color for the grass that the gnome is standing on. We'll come back later and add in some individual grass blades. And now I'm going to take a little bit of the DIY paint, and I've got cake batter and faded burlap, and I'm just going to get a khaki color and paint in the gnome's trousers. So now I'm taking a bit of DIY's layered chocolate, and I'm just doing the dome of the gnome's boots. And I will take some prairie gray and add in there to lighten it up and give a little bit of a variation into the layered chocolate. So now I'm just taking a tiny bit of the little black dress from DIY and doing the soles of his boots. And then I'm going to get some rustic red and I'm going to put that on his hat. Now, as you'll see as we go along, I will add in or leave a spot for some patches that he will have on his hat. And so those will be left white. But I will go through and I will work the paint down into the tooth of the canvas so that we don't have any uncovered teeth in there. And then once I get the coverage here with the red, I'm going to take a little bit of the DIY layered chocolate and add it with the rustic red just to give some shadow and definition to his hat in different areas. The DIY and the Dixie Belle work really well together. Now I'm taking some Carnival Red, which is a DIY color, and I'm mixing it a little bit with the rustic red because I do want that brim of the hat to be a little lighter than the rest of the hat, and that just gives me another layer of dimension to his hat there. And then I just go through and touch up any places that I can still see white tooth of the canvas. All right, so now we're going to start on our pumpkin. And what I've got here is all DIY paint. I've got Summer Crush, which is the darker of the oranges. I've got Queen Bee, which is the darker yellow, and I've got Fire Starter, which is the brighter orange. And I'm just going to mix those on the canvas here to give some highlights and some lowlights into the different areas of sections of the pumpkin. We will go through, and after we're done with this, and add in the lines in between the segments of the pumpkins. But we do want to have the highlights and the lowlights, and you can just do this all at one time by varying the colors that you're putting on and mixing it on the canvas. Now you will notice that I've got some white there, and that is a leaf that has fallen, and we'll go and get that here in just a moment. We're doing the stem in Aviary, which is a green color from DIY, a little bit of the Prairie Gray from DIY, and Layered Chocolate, and just making some variation in there as well. Now I'm taking a little bit of the Summer Crush and Prairie Gray, and I'm putting the lines back in on the segments of the pumpkin, and as you can see, I'm spritzing a little water and I'm blending with my blending brush, and then I'm going to move on to blending with my fingers because, well, I like my fingers a little bit better, so that's why you see me playing with my fingers. Now I'm going in with Liquid Sunshine to do the patch on the little gnome hat, and a little bit of Fire Starter. And I wanted to add a little bit of Fire Starter into the pumpkin in a different area or two. Now I'm doing a Faded Burlap, which is also the DIY color, and sorry, not Faded Burlap, Prairie Gray, and I'm just doing a base coat on the sign that our gnome is holding. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to take a bit of Layered Chocolate and a bit of Faded Burlap and add some dimension into the wood of that sign to make it look like it's been weathered over time. And then we'll just do the handle in the Prairie Gray. Okay, so what I'm doing now is just adding the stitching that would be around the patches on his little hat. And now I'm going to take some evergreen and I'm going to do a base coat on these leaves. I will go through and add a little bit of other colors in there to get that fall look. Now I am also putting a little bit of that evergreen in our stem because it matched too closely with my sign. All right, so now I'm just putting the stem on our leaves with Aviary and a little bit of not Faded Burlap, Prairie Gray. And then I'm taking some Liquid Sunshine and some of our Rustic Red, and I'm pouncing it into the leaves, which gives us a little red, a little yellow, and a little orange in with our green, just to give us that fall touch. Now this is DIY paint in Cowgirl Coral and Petticoat Pink, and I'm just mixing that on the canvas to get the proper color for his nose. All right, now I'm going to take Dixie Belle in cotton and a little bit of DIY's Little Black Dress and mix them together to get a gray color. I'm going to take the cotton and I'm going to put a layer on his beard and his mustache. And then I'm going to take the gray and I'm going to add that in to give a little dimension and some flow into his beard and mustache. And I'll go back in with the cotton and I'll just play back and forth until I get a consistency and a flow that I'm happy with. And then we'll move on from there. Okay, so now I'm taking some evergreen and I'm putting in individual blades of grass. I will also do the same thing with the Salty Kiss just to give a little bit of a variation. Now the evergreen is Dixie Belle and the Salty Kiss is DIY. All right, now we're just going to take an acrylic paint pen and write fall. I like using those better than I do using the black paint. Please like and subscribe for more content. Thanks for watching.